remind you to turn your cell phones to vibrate or silence. And let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Strebe?
Here.
Councilmember Berg?
Here.
Councilmember Dalby?
Here.
Councilmember Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Stevens?
Here.
Mayor Lazio?
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from special meeting number 11 on March 29th, 2019, and regular meeting number 12 on April 2nd, 2019, as presented. Approve the appointment of Cody McClure to the position of Equipment Operator in the Sewer Maintenance Department effective April 1st, 2019. Consideration of Iowa Community Assurance Pool Law Enforcement Policy and Training Grant. Approve the submission of the grant and authorize the Mayor and Chief of Police to sign all related documents. Resolution number 72, 2019, setting the date for a public hearing on the intent to dispose of city-owned property located at Lot 12 and Block 12 of Blake's Addition, also known as a vacant lot on North Cherry Street. Beer and/or liquor applications for Mike's Pizza and Steakhouse at 2517 Northgate, Pizza Hut number 1 at 1247 Theater Drive, Atumwa Elks Lodge 347 with temporary outdoor service area 618 to 622, 2019 at the Jimmy Jones Shelter. All applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion?
Move the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes. I have one question, Your Honor. Can we get an address of that vacant lot?
I'm sure Kevin can get that for us. Corner of Cherry and Locust, as I recall.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Cherry and Locust?
Yeah.
Is that a buildable lot?
Well, technically, it's a buildable lot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Need approval for tonight's agenda.
Your Honor, I would move approval of the agenda with the exception of item H1, and I would move to have that moved to the next council meeting.
Second.
Okay, so you're approving the agenda with the exception of H1 be tabled to the next meeting. All right. So take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
At this point, I'd like to call on City Administrator Andy Morris to give us reports on some of the activities. So, Andy?
Thank you, Mayor. There are 3 items listed. The very first item is the draft ordinance relative to what you've seen in some of the correspondence with staff anyway, and that is the parking ordinance. It's been called the Parking Lot Committee, but it's actually the parking ordinance. I'm going to provide a little bit of outline for it. The item I do want to emphasize is you will see at the end of the listing, this is an item, pardon me, as you may recall, Mayor, we began doing this 2 years ago. We would bring an item that would need to be approved legislatively and try and give council at least a 2-week advance of that particular policy going in front of them. So obviously not asking council to vote on this tonight. As noted on the agenda, that would be, we would ask that council act upon that at the next council meeting on the 7th of May 2019. A couple of highlights that I'd like to share with you. First of all, please feel free to review the proposed ordinance. If you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to share those with myself, City Attorney Keith, and also the City Clerk. Chris can certainly bring you up to speed on that as well. So if you have any questions about this after you read through it, feel free to reach out to any of us. This ordinance consolidates parking and parking lots into one code section, which is something I believe was in need for more than a couple of years. The other item that came from actually the parking study from Area 15, which I think speaks pretty clearly to something we should be doing, and that's there will be more of an emphasis on concentrating enforcement on street parking and a little bit less in the designated parking lots. Daily residential bulk permits will continue to be sold at City Hall. Should this has come up, should the Chamber of Commerce wish to sell those, they would have that ability as well. But just to be clear, at this point, staff is recommending they be sold out of City Hall. And then finally, a great deal of credit goes to the Public Works Department, but in particular, I want to identify Chad Carlson, the Public Works Superintendent, Chris Reinhardt, the City Clerk, in doing the heavy lifting, let's just say, in putting this ordinance together. And I think it brings some semblance to an item that has, let's just say, a multiplicity of facets to it. I'll be happy to entertain any questions or comments on that. Mayor, if you or the council members have any questions, if there's not any more, if there are none, I will just proceed to the next two.
Sure, go ahead.
The community meeting, our first community meeting of the year, you may recall we established these in 2016. The very first community meeting we're having this year will be on Thursday. That will be obviously 2 days from this today. It's on the 18th. That will be at the Westgate Towers. We had our, I believe, one of our first meetings there in the summer of 16. This will be another one. That meeting starts at 6 and then ends at 7. Larry Seals, the Public Works Director, will make some comments regarding projects, as will Kevin Flanagan, City Planner. He will also introduce some topics, and at that point, we open it up for discussion. Some of you may or may not recall the last time we met there, it was about a 3-hour dissertation. We'll try and hold that to an hour. And finally, the business license. That is an item that Chief Tony Miller has been working on rather assiduously for the last couple of months. And that, quite frankly, takes I believe the fire inspection permit, I'm probably going to butcher that, and it combines the fire safety component along with a business license. That's an item you don't see a lot in Iowa, and that's having a specific business license. So there's an inspection component to that. If council has any questions of that, not to put Chief Miller on the spot, you can certainly ask those. Again, that's another item that will be brought forth at the meeting on the 7th of May. Mayor, that's all I have, unless you or council members have any questions or comments.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll keep moving.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. Item E, is there anyone that wants to address an item on the agenda? I don't think we have any cards in the audience, but always give the audience a chance to participate. Okay, let's move to item F.
Award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 1X kitchen floor resurface and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 1X kitchen floor resurface to Surface Sealers Incorporated of Lincoln, Nebraska, and the amount of $6,710.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Hal. Good evening, Jane. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Beach Phase 4 RFP 1X is to resurface the floor in the kitchen at the Beach Ottumwa. The bid includes all material, labor, and equipment necessary to remove the existing tile base, clean, grind, and prep the existing floor, and apply seamless monolithic flooring system to match the lobby floor. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on March 27, 2019 at 2 p.m. The RFP was sent to 3 contractors and advertised on the city's website. 3 bids were received, and the low bidder is Surface Sealers of Lincoln, Nebraska, in the amount of $6,710.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thanks, Gene.
Award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 2X new overhead doors and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 2X new overhead doors to Reed Overhead Doors of Ottumwa, Iowa, in the amount of $8,250.
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Matt. Go ahead, Gene.
Beach Phase 4 RFP 2X is to remove the existing roll-up overhead doors and furnish and install 3 new sectional overhead doors on the wave pool filter building located at the Beach Ottumwa. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 10th, 2019 at 2 p.m. Project notices were sent to 3 contractors and advertised on the city's website. 2 bids were received. The low bidder is Reed Overhead Doors of Ottumwa in the amount of $8,250.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 5X walk-in freezer replacement and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract for the Beach Phase 4 RFP 5X walk-in freezer replacement to Winger Service of Ottumwa, Iowa, and the amount of $15,056.63.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Gene.
Beach Phase 4 RFP 5X is to remove the existing freezer located in the kitchen area and install a new walk-in freezer at the beach at Ottumwa. The existing freezer is beyond the typical service life for freezers, and staff recommends replacement. Bids were received and opened by the city of Ottumwa on April 10th, 2019 at 2 p.m. The RFP was sent to 3 contractors and advertised on the city's website, and 2 bids were received. The low bidder is Winger Contracting of Ottumwa in the amount of $15,056.63.
Any questions for Gene? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Discussion to finalize project listing for Beach Phase 4 renovations. Recommendation, hear staff presentation and approve proposed project listing for Beach Phase 4 renovations.
I'd like to welcome Dwight to the podium and have him, as our city engineer, give us an overview. So Dwight, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. As you are aware, we're underway with Phase 4. And what I'd like to talk to you about tonight is just finalizing what that list of projects is going to consist of for Phase 4. We can now see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're pleased with where we've been and where we're going. Everything is under budget and we've been on time. So I'd like to just run through these slides here real quick for you so we can, I can kind of show you what we have in mind. Next slide. This is the list that you have in the packet of shows that all the projects that are scheduled for Phase 4. Next slide. And these are the 4 projects we'd like to add to it. The volleyball court reconstruction, $75,000. New shade structure installation, $100,000. A dedication plaque, $1,200. A portable storage building, $5,000, which brings to a total of $181,200. And that brings the total of Phase 4 estimated to be about $640,000. If you recall, we started this project out at the very beginning. We had a facilities repair and maintenance program devised, and we've been following that. So the reason I'm coming to you for approval with these projects is because this is a little bit outside of the scope of that repair and maintenance program, and these are more like improvements instead of basic repairs. So if we can go on to the first one, this is the volleyball court reconstruction. Right there is where you can see is our existing volleyball court. It doesn't get used very much, if at all. The sand that is there is of the wrong gradation, and I've been told that it's contaminated with thistles, so if you go into it with bare feet, you're going to end up getting a thistle prick in your foot. So it hasn't been the attraction I'm sure that it is hoped to be. Here's a view of the volleyball court from the ground level. What we're proposing is to put a single competition court there. It would require getting all the old sand out, putting in a drainage system, and new sand of the specified gradation. Next sand. And what I kind of envision this to be is a volleyball court that would have a hard border, which grass would be able to go right up to it, but it was something that would allow barefoot people to go in and out of without a problem. And that would be for $75,000. This next one is the new shade structure installation. When my family comes down to visit me, they always go to the beach. And the complaint that I hear over and over again is that there's no place for people to go where they can sit and watch the kids in the pool and still be in the shade. Yes, we have shade structures there, but they're too far away to allow the families to see the kids. So what this is a series of tent-like structures, or sails is how they present it. You have a number of single umbrellas here and some triangular shaped sails there. And here's a ridged shaped tent structure If we can go to the next one. There's a better picture of the cantilever umbrella. Next one. And this is superimposed over the filter building area. Here's the tent-like structure. We could even put the beach logo on there, the current beach logo. That's the old one, but just to show you what we could do with that. And that would give a nice platform for people to sit up there and socialize and watch the kids. The next item is the dedication plaque. Here's the dedication plaque that was put up for the 1992 construction. If we were going to put a plaque up now, next, I would recommend Beach Ottumwa renovations, Phase 4 completion, May 15th, 2020. List of the elected officials and the staff that's been involved in this project. And we would get this cast in bronze like the other plaques. Next one. Right here is the area in the lobby where the current plaques are displayed. I would probably want to do a little different arrangement to make it look a little bit more organized, but we would put it in that same general vicinity. We're thinking the plaque is going to cost about $1,200. The last item I don't have a slide for, but it's a portable storage building. Right now, everything gets stored in the filter building on the south side of the wave pool, and that gets kind of crowded in the wintertime. This would be a building that would be, it's a portable building, 12 foot by 20 foot. It would be on skids. It'd be located on the property someplace. It would be a good storage facility that could house their lawn equipment, their snow equipment, and then during the winter months when we have a lot of the recreational equipment that needs storage, that can go in there too. And if we put the shade structures up, we're going to need a place to store all that fabric once it gets, once the season's over with and they get that down and get that folded back up. So what I'm hoping for is that I can get approval from the council to say, yes, let's include that. We have the budget to include it. Otherwise, if you have any questions on any of these 4 projects, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for, go
Dwight, I
ahead.
noticed you spelled my name wrong on the plaque, so I hope that's changed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I
all
didn't
right.
realize that.
Your Honor, I have a couple of questions.
That's the most important thing.
Okay.
Councilman, go ahead, Councilman Rowe.
2 quick questions for you. First, you mentioned on this sand volleyball court, one of the current issues that we have is thistles in the sand. How would replacing the sand correct the problem of having thistles in the sand going forward?
Once the old sand is taken out, we'd lay a fabric down, and then that would prevent anything from growing up from the bottom.
Okay, makes sense. And the second question that I had was these shade structures. Do these like collapse that way? Like, for example, during a wind event, we don't have these things blowing away and effectively blowing $100,000 out the door.
That was my exact question to them too when I first looked at it, and they do come off. There's a mechanism that allows them to come off fairly easily, but they said generally it's not necessary in the event of storms to take these down. They said the winter is the worst exposure for them, so that you don't want to take them down in the fall and make sure they got folded up and stored properly.
So do these have like a wind rating on them that they'll withstand 30, 45, 40, 50 mile an hour winds? Or how's that work?
I would hope they would withstand more than that, but that would be something I would be checking into.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
No.
I guess one question following up on the volleyball court is cost of continued maintenance. Are there costs down the road that you think would be prevalent to know about?
There is some equipment that we can use that we would purchase at the time that we install this that would make it easier to keep the sand clean. But as far as maintenance is concerned, the current staff can take care of that. It's fairly simple.
And just one thing to point out, I know from doing research on a completely different project that there's a shade structure grant out there from, I believe it's a dermatology association. So I'll send you that. And there might be something to get some funds. I don't know if it'll apply or not, but
I'll be talking to you
I
about
believe
that
it
then.
literally use Shade Structure Grant Program is the name of it. So I can pass that along and maybe
Yeah, I'd
that'd
like
be
to know.
applicable.
We'd check into that.
Any other comments?
Go ahead. Mr. Mayor, just one question. Dwight, this is an item I know we've talked about on the staff level a couple of times. Phase 4 is the final stage of this. And if assuming, again, council approves of this, this will be added to Phase 4. That being the case, were there any projects in Phase 4 then that had to be taken away as this was supplanted by them?
No, at the present time, this would just be added in and everything would remain the same.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead, Mark.
Can you give me a rough idea, or maybe Bob J, one of the two, the total cost to date, if this were approved, what the total cost of all 4 phases of this would be at right about now?
Bob and I have been talking about that, and we do have to include staff time involved in that, so I'll let Bob add to that.
We currently have let's see. About 183,000 left over from the 2,100,000 we've bonded for so far. And we've got projects that'll be consuming about all of that down to about 29,000. And so this will come in underneath that by total of the 2.8 million by about 90,000, but that will be consumed by salaries from the time from now until the completion of the project in the winter.
Okay, thank you.
It'll pretty much, there'll be some left over probably, but not a lot.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? So are you comfortable giving a go-ahead to include this in Phase 4? I see heads nodding. Then I'd say go ahead, Dwight, and give us a report when you get the finalization done.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Award the contract for the 2019 RFP number 5, Elm Street Force Main Repair, and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Recommendation, award the contract for the 2019 RFP number 5, Elm Street Force Main Repair to DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, and the amount of $16,400.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Good evening, Larry. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The project is to repair a force main near Alliant Energy's Ottumwa XL substation on Highway 3463 bypass. The section of the force main to be repaired consists of 2 mechanical couplers and approximately 10 linear feet of HDPE 20-inch pipe. City Council approved the emergency temporary repairs of the Elm Street force main by DC Construction and Concrete on April 2nd, 2019. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa April 10th at 2 p.m. 5 sets of plans were distributed and 2 bids were received. The low bidder is DC Concrete and Construction of Dowds, Iowa, in the amount of $16,400.
Any questions for Larry? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bid report for the Ottumwa Main Street Improvement Downtown Streetscape Project. Recommendation, present bid tab information.
So you have the floor to continue.
The project consists of complete reconstruction of the 100, 200, and 300 blocks of Main Street. It'll include full width, full depth PCC reconstruction. The project will include replacement of the sanitary sewer lines, sewer laterals. In addition, new water mains and service lines will be installed during the project, and ADA compliant sidewalks will be installed. As part of the bid, 5 alternate bid items were included in the plan set bid documents. Alternate 1 and 2 were for the addition of a fire service line for buildings that could develop upper story apartments, which would require sprinkler systems by code. There were 10 buildings that this could apply to. Add alternate 3 and 4 were for water service lines from the stop box to the building water meter. There are 59 water services that this bid could apply to without with unknown links. Kevin has been working directly with Ottumwa Water Works and with property owners on procedures and financial responsibilities. Now that we have the actual bid numbers, we can present those to the owners or other options. Other items that need finalized would be for the cost of the resident engineering and construction survey contracts. This contract would be between the city and the engineering firm, but could be funded from the allocated funds listed. For a 2-season contract schedule, it is estimated to be around $300,000. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 10th at 2 p.m. One bid was received from Portson Construction of Dubuque, Iowa, in the amount of $5,096,359.30. We'll need to review the cost with funding partners and review private water service cost to determine the final cost. We have set a meeting up since the bid opening for 1:30 on the 25th at the Legacy office with all the design people and financial partners. On the staff summary also includes what we have for funding sources to date, and then there's some items to work out as far as the cost of the water main exceeded the amount allocated by Ottumwa Water Works. So we've got to work through some of those details. So if you look with the base bid and the estimated resident engineering cost, we're at $5,396,359.30. This does not include gas service relocates, which is part of the legacy funding portion, or does it include water service cost? That has to be determined yet. That's one of the things that we're working out before we come back to council and recommend an award.
Okay, questions for Larry? I think Larry might start with the original plans were in the neighborhood of $6 million, as I recall. So we've got some negotiating room.
The total funding that had been allocated between the partners, which included, there was a CDBG grant, water quality grant, Legacy City, and Ottumwa Water Works was $5,982,665. But before I can come to council and recommend, we have to have the details of what exactly are we funding, and kind of a recommendation from the architect and the group on some of the alternate bid items are probably higher than expected. So we have to work out how we're going to do that, either through a negotiation after award or contacting a secondary contract, which we try not to do, but we have done in order to get the price where we think it should be.
Questions or comments from council? Well, maybe after you've had your meeting on the 25th, then you can give us an update at our first meeting. And
we would probably make a determination at that time if we're bringing it back for an award or rejection at that time.
Okay. Okay with council? Okay. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that update.
This is a time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the status of funded activities for the Ottumwa Upper Story Housing Pilot Project.
Introduce Brad Grief from Area 15, who's going to start us off.
Sure. I'll show you a little presentation here after most of my spiel. Again, this is the public hearing for the status of funded activities on the CDBG pilot program. In March of 2018, Iowa Economic Development Authority awarded the City of Ottumwa CDBG funds for the purpose of creating upper story housing units in downtown. Kind of a little background on that. Every 5 years, IEDA is required to develop a consolidated plan for housing and community development as a condition for receiving funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which includes their state CDBG program. So this document identifies like impediments to fair housing identified within the state, and then their goals on how they want to address those impediments. Forgot a period. This is one of just 3 pilot projects that were awarded over the last year and a half to help guide the development of the 2020-2024 IEDA plan. So that's pretty exciting. So the city qualified for the CDBG funds based on a HUD national objective of providing housing opportunities for low to moderate income households, which in this community is in excess of 52%. Upon receiving the certificate of occupancy from the city, each unit will be required to be rented to an LMI qualified individual or family for a period of 5 years, after which they can be rented out without any restrictions. The original scope of work for the project was to gut and renovate the upper levels of 4 buildings in the 300 block of East Main Street into 5 apartment units. You can see kind of the circle up there where they are. 303 and 305 East Main will each have 1 3-bedroom unit. 315 will have a 2-bedroom unit, and 320 will have 2 1-bedroom units. The 3-bedroom units are going to be the first in downtown, and we're kind of a something that the local employers had said that there is a segment that we're missing in this community. So that's kind of exciting also. So the scope of the project hasn't changed. The city applied for and were awarded $500,000 in CDBG funds. The city was to match this grant award with $788 in local funds, which only includes $25,000 from the city. And the rest is on Rippling Waters property development. The original estimated project cost was $1,109,788. 2 bids were received for the project, and the contract for construction was awarded to the lower bidder, which was RG Construction here in Ottumwa. Their original bid was $1,073,633.40, but through value engineering, the contract amount for construction was reduced to $1,001,751.40. So this included about $74,000 in contingency funds. The construction began in October, and it should be wrapped up here by early summer, hopefully sooner. Through the end of March, RG had billed approximately 45% of its contract. Curtis Architecture and Design had billed 75%. We, Area 15, have already billed all of our contract. Keep digging that hole. And other fees, including asbestos testing, radon testing, recording for easements and such. And then the energy efficiency consulting have been paid all by the owner. To date, there have been 15 total construction change orders through the project for a sum of $38,600.56 or $656.63, which leaves us with a remainder of $35,547.18 in contingency funds. As far along as this project is, I doubt we'll hit that, so that's good for everybody involved. It's worth noting also that the Alliant Hometown Rewards Committee is doing a project in town to get energy efficiency initiatives around town, and one of the pilot projects of its own. We're putting, instead of the normal electric water heaters in here, we're putting heat pump water heaters in, and they're covering the cost differential from the base bid to the increased cost of the unit, which is going to be about a little over $7,000 that Alliant's putting toward this project. So that's kind of nice too. So maybe down the road, if these are effective, then we can recommend, we as in whomever, landlords, whatever, can recommend that they put those in new units rather than the standard electric water heaters, so that they can maybe see a cost savings over the life cycle of the unit. Contract date is to end on March 31st, 2021, but we're going to hit that way sooner than that. And I guess just one last little thing, Grundy Center was awarded the same grant that we were at the same time, and they haven't even gone to bid yet on the project. So, yeah, so we're doing all right. So if you can take a look here at the participating properties are up there in green, and the existing apartments already in that 300 block are in yellow. With these 5 units, that'll be a total of 20 new housing units in this block alone, all built since 2010. If you look at the development patterns of this community, that's a significant portion of the new construction that's actually gone on in the last 10 years. So that's pretty exciting. So the floor plans, you've seen these before. Pretty simple, 3-bedroom units there, 303 and 305. The 2-bedroom unit up there in 315, and then 2 1-bedroom units there in 320. So here's some comparison photos real quick. Here's what 303 looked like late last year, and there's what it looked like today. And these are all comparison photos of the same pretty close view. 305 was kind of left as the bar as it was, and now it's going to actually be functional again and sanitary. 315 had a bunch of swimming pools, so we should have just opened the beach up there. Actually, we got a lot of the roof joists repaired, about 15 to 20 of those repaired. This has got a new roof. If you go around the back alley, you'll see that they tore the whole nasty add-on off, and it looks pretty rough right now, but I didn't see what they did to it today, but looked like they were back there tuck pointing. So after the demo, that's kind of what it looked like, and again, there's what it looks like today. 320 was mostly gutted and abated before the project started, but again, significant changes, and this one's actually been textured all the way through, and they're starting to actually paint it. So finishes are already being applied here. So hopefully in another 4 to 6 weeks, this will be on the market. And with that, I'll let you ask any more questions.
Any questions for Brad?
No questions, just a comment. That's really looking great. So good work.
And these will all maybe be on the upstairs downtown tour May 31st and June 1st. So the public can come on in and take a look at them.
Great.
And we invite you all to be there.
Well, this is a public hearing, so if anybody wants to make any comments from the audience, this is a time to step to the microphone. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thanks, folks.
Resolution number 73, 2019, setting consultation meeting for April 25th, 2019 with other taxing entities, Wapello County and the school district, and setting May 21st, 2019 for a public hearing on a proposed amendment number 8 to the Westgate Economic Development Urban Renewal Plan in the city of Ottumwa, state of Iowa. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 73, 2019.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Kevin. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned, this resolution will set the consultation meeting with other governing entities for April 25th, 2019 at 2 o'clock. And it will also set the time and date for our public hearing for our URA amendment for May 21st. As I had mentioned in conversations with members, we have now at this point in the project kind of reverted back to a rebatement mode on the project as far as our mechanism for our incentives package. And that, of course, is capped at $4 million over 20 years. And there are a few other costs that we're looking at as well, still under consideration. Presently, the new copy of the development agreement has been sent to our developer. We'd like to come forward with an update for council members as soon as we can. I'm waiting to hear back from the developer with any comments about that before we do that, just so we know we're getting that in there. But I'd entertain any questions members may have.
Any questions for Kevin? Comments? Hearing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Resolution number 74, 2019, awarding the contract for the Beach Phase 3 Beach Sound System Replacement 2019 to Lifeline Audio Video Technologies of Platteville, Wisconsin, in the amount of $52,250. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 74, 2019.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening again, Gene. Go ahead.
This project consists of the complete removal of existing sound equipment and installation of new wiring and sound equipment for the lobby, offices, outdoor and indoor pool areas. This is the third bid procedure followed. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on April 10th, 2019 at 2 p.m. 4 sets of plans were either sent out or downloaded from the city website, and 2 bids were received. The low bidder is Lifeline Audio Video Technologies of Platteville, Wisconsin, in the amount of $52,250. The consultant's opinion of cost was $55,000. And the total phase 3 cost to date will be $488,923.87.
Okay, any questions for Gene? Go ahead, Mark.
Just point of clarification, Gene. Is this the same company that had bid the last time that this came before council?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Your Honor, I have some.
Go ahead, Skip.
I don't know where to begin, but I'm frustrated. We had a bid 2 years ago of low 20s. I think it was $24,000 to do the sound system by a local company. And that didn't work out for some reason or other. So we took bids a second time and it come in at $48,000 from this same company. And we rejected that one. Now we get a bid from the same company that's $52,000. I can't follow this. I don't know how this keeps going up and up and up every time they bid it. Evidently they changed equipment. I don't know whether this is a Cadillac of sound equipment or what it is, but I'm not in favor of this at all. And I had stated early that this is what would happen, and it did. Personally, I'd be in favor of tabling this thing if it took a year to get it down, and I would venture to guess we can get it done for around $35,000. That's just a guess. I'm not a professional in sound equipment, but I'm not happy with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Skip. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor, been made and seconded, and recommendation is to accept this particular bid. Ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
No.
Passes 4-1. Thank you.
Resolution number 75, 2019, awarding the contract for the East Alta Vista reconstruction project to Drish Construction Incorporated of Fairfield, Iowa, in the amount of $623,152.10. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 75, 2019.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project will consist of full depth, full width PCC reconstruction of Alta Vista from about 65 feet outside of the city limits, southwesterly, a distance of 1,190 linear feet. The existing HMM pavement width varies from 22.5 feet to 24. The new design will adjust the vertical profile for line of sight and widen the pavement to 26 feet. A new water main installation is part of the project and will be reimbursed by Ottumwa Water and Hydro. Bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa April 10th, 2019 at 2 p.m. 11 sets of plans were either sent out or downloaded from the city website, and 3 bids were received. The low bidder is Drish Construction, Inc. of Fairfield, Iowa, in the amount of $623,152.10. Then I have the funding broke out from what the city is participating, Ottumwa Water, and then Wapello County is participating at $29,927 for their portion that's within the county right-of-way area.
Any questions for Larry about this project? It's been a long time coming. Okay, seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 77, 2019, approving the consultation contract for engineering services with JEO Consulting Group for Milner Street Reconstruction Project in the amount of $196,000. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 77, 2019.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
The Surface Transportation Program application was approved for the full depth, full width reconstruction of Milner Street from Mary to Burris. This project includes replacement of the ADA sidewalks at intersections as required, storm and sanitary sewer improvements, and water main replacement. JEO scope of work will include surveying, design, project staging, preparation of preliminary check and final plans, and all required permitting and preparation of bid documents. Design will include designing the alignment corridor for the future multi-use trail. Currently, a TAP application grant is under review. This is $196,000 lump sum contract. Funding for this contract will be from the Expanded Street Repair Program funds. And then I have this funding sources listed from the swap funds, $1,629,508. And from the Expanded Street Repair Program, $407,377 for the preliminary cost estimate for construction of $2,036,885. One of the things when we originally applied for this grant, it wasn't just the standard STP fund, so it was an 80-20 match. And later on, the DOT had come out with a program which they called swap funds. It reduces some of the mandatory requirements when it's a federal project. So that's why you see the new swap that we come before you on the Milner Street shortly, or just a few weeks ago, was 100% match because of the difference in the funding and when it took place and was implemented.
Yeah. Any questions for Larry? Okay, hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Item J in our agenda, if there's anyone in the audience who wants to talk about any item of city business. Seeing none, we'll move on. K is our petitions and communications, and I think a couple of comments might be in order. First of all, this is our last official meeting in April. May is the National Municipal Clerk Week, and we're going to recognize Chris and all the hard work she does for us. And I think sometimes we don't give our own staff enough credit for the things that they accomplish, and she's done a great job for our city council this year. We're probably also at some point in the future, we'll need to have some comments about our runway update and rebuild. I just got the second week report from the engineering firm today, and they're making great progress. And hopefully, if we don't have too much rain, they'll be able to continue at a record speed. And they really are moving a lot of dirt and cement out there. So it's a great project, and I'm glad we're getting on it. Lastly, and I think, Andy, it might be appropriate to share with the council, you and I have been rather busy the last couple of days talking to our state legislators. There's a real active movement in Des Moines. It started out being House Study Bill 165. It's been renamed. It's now called House File 773. And it really is a property tax reform bill that could really affect us as a city. It'll affect every city because the concern is that we not increase any of our taxes beyond 2% in any given year. And if we do, that the citizens then might have a reverse referendum and could call and challenge us, and we might have to pay that money back. It's a very busy bill. Thanks to Holly, we had some information this afternoon. We haven't had a chance to really read it yet. But I did, on behalf of the city, register a formal protest with the mayor's council and also with our legislators. And we're going to continue to work this bill because it really could change how all cities do business. And some discussion with Bob Jay, it doesn't look like it's the way to solve the problem. It just adds more headaches for city finance people, and it would really hurt some of the smaller communities more than us. So we're going to monitor it, but I want you to be aware of it. And if you run into either Senator Miller Meeks or Representative Gasco, please let them know that as a city, we're going to fight this bill and hopefully ask the people in Des Moines to reconsider and it's been something we've been talking about for the last year or so, but it really seems to be moving rather quickly. And Andy, you want to make any comments? Anything you want to add to it?
Mayor, I believe you've summed it up pretty well. I'll just give one example, and this speaks pretty clearly to the revenue side, and I appreciate Bob Jay's assistance on this. As the mayor said, this particular piece of legislation will place certain limits on the percentage increase that cities receive in revenues. Not only does it address the 810 levy, which also includes two other levies, the debt service levy and the emergency levy. I won't go into the intricacies of that, but I want to give just one example. If you look at our assessed valuation, and that's really the crux of this particular measure, and the mayor and I, to back up the mayor, said, I had a very productive conversation last week with Senator Miller Meeks. We shared with her our questions and concerns, and she shared with us some of her thoughts. But I just want to put this in perspective. Again, not rising above 2%. If you look at the assessed valuation from 2018 to 2019, and then 2019 to 2020, the assessed valuation grew 0.027. So that 7 puts you above that 2%. So just to put this in perspective, if a reverse referendum were to take place, were to call, the city would be charged with the task of refunding approximately $4.3 million to the citizens. I know that sounds good in the abstract, and people are in favor of that. But as you well know, Mayor, and we talked about this during our conversation with the senator, our expenses are not frozen. And those revenues, if there's a limit placed on those, it will put a damper, let's just say, in our ability to capitalize certain projects. Hope that it does not move forward, or it is modified perhaps. But I just want to put that in perspective in terms of the projects we talked about tonight with the public works projects. In addition to that, even something simple as maintaining our public safety officers, this could somewhat put that in peril. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. Lastly, I said I would mention this. April 21st to the 27th is Make Ottumwa Shine Week. There is no citywide pickup this year in a sense of free pickup. We do want people to pick up their neighborhood and certainly clean up our communities, but there is no citywide free pickup this year. So again, there is some confusion. Katie King is getting a number of calls asking where it's going to be held and who's going to be doing the pickup. So please make your friends and neighbors aware of it. We want to get the city as spick and span. We are expecting some out-of-town visitors the first week of May, and they're going to be looking and walking through our communities all over town. So it's not just downtown. With that, is there any other information for council or from council?
Your Honor, I just got one thing I want to pass on. Most of us know Alicia Houck here in the city, but she heads up the Ottumwa Wildflower Project. And I had talked to her over this past week, and she asked me to announce that on April 27th, she's going to be doing a planting at the Ottumwa Public Library. And it looks like she has it here as an enchanted forest and a magic meadow. So looks like there's some more action with that. And she's asking for volunteers in the community who would be able to come help volunteer to plant. So again, that's April 27th at 9 a.m. at the Ottumwa Public Library for those of you that are interested in wildflowers or sprucing up the area around the Ottumwa Public Library. She said bring gloves if you have them, and donuts and coffee will be there. So it's just kind of a nice community event if those of you out there have that interest. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Holly?
I was just going to point out, Mayor, with the Make Ottumwa Shine, there's still spots that you can adopt available. I've got 2, so I got a couple spots taken. But if you go to the city website, there you can look at the list of what's still available. So there's a lot taken, but there's still some more out there.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Last call. Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
And we're adjourned at 6:24.